Hey guys, in today's quick tip we're going to show you 3 ways to fill your Kaweco Sport fountain pen. First one's the most obvious, is use the cartridge that came with the pen. The international size ink cartridge is in the barrel of any Kaweco Sport to start, and what you would want to do is you would want to insert it into the section and pierce the cartridge by pressing it in until it snaps in place. Now, to kind of shortcut the process, because the ink is currently now feeding through the feeder and it will eventually reach the tip, but to kind of coax it into writing quicker, you would kind of squeeze the plastic in the back there and it should be writing very shortly. So we're going to screw the barrel back on, screw the cap back on. That is way number 1. And a little side note too is that some people do prefer actually refilling the ink cartridges to some of the other methods that we'll discuss here. So that's one thing to consider as well, is that you could use the cartridge that comes with this pen, rinse it out after it's done, and then fill it up with a different ink, if you please, with a blunt needle syringe. Method number 2 is using the 2 Kaweco converters, one of which is a squeeze type converter and the other is a slide piston converter that operates much like a syringe would, just a miniature version. First thing you would do is remove the ink cartridge that's inside of the Kaweco Sport. Then you would, just like you would with any converter, you would attach it to the section. And what you would do is, to fill it up, you would have to depress the bulb that's here. It's a flexi plastic, very thin-walled sort of plastic sack that's here. And you would depress it into the bottle of ink, and then you would let go. And that would create the vacuum that would suck the ink up into the converter. So we're going to do that with this Namiki blue ink. Just going to show you as per demonstration here. But as you can see, it's also bringing up some air, and it doesn't bring in much ink at all. This is one of the drawbacks of this type of converter. It's kind of a pain to use, and it really doesn't give you a whole lot of ink. In fact, it's probably less than half the capacity of a regular ink cartridge. But that's something that Kaweco tried to fix with doing a more modern piston converter as well. So this was the one that came originally and really wasn't overwhelmingly a success to most writers, and then the piston one came later, which we will use in just a second here. So we'll put this back together. Okay, so same principle applies as the squeeze converter. What we want to do is we want to create a vacuum so that we're pulling ink into the converter, and what we're going to do is we're going to put the nib into the bottle of ink, submerge it all the way up to the section, and then we're going to pull nice and slow and get a full fill of ink. So this method does work a bit better. You still don't get the amount of ink capacity as you would with a standard international cartridge, but it does allow you to use bottled ink as opposed to the standard international ink cartridge, which is limited in its color choices. The third method, and by far more risky if you don't mind a spill here and there, is the eyedropper fill method. So it's pretty popular for people to eyedropper fill their Kaweco Sport pens. The Sport pen is completely resin, so there's no metal to interact with the ink and thus causing any sort of rusting or fusing of metal threads together in the section and barrel. It's fairly adaptable to being able to eyedropper fill it, and there's no holes in it either like you would find in certain other pens that have cutouts or little holes that are at the bottom of the design that would then of course cause the pen to leak. So this can be filled up with an eyedropper. What you would want to do before getting inky with it is you would want to put on the intersection that's here, you would want to put some silicone grease around these threads, just a very slight coating of it. I don't have any with me just right now at this time of filming, but let's just pretend I'm putting a very thin coating of silicone across these threads, not globs of it, just a small little bit, just to kind of create that watertight seal. And what we're going to do is then get our eyedropper and fill it up with ink, and then deposit it directly into the barrel. And you don't want to go beyond where these threads are here. You don't want to overfill it too much. and we're going to screw this back in. Alright, so that was 3 ways to fill a Kaweco Sport pen. Hope you enjoyed this quick tip. See you around, guys.